Welcome back. Now, with the fourth wave anticipated during the busiest tourist season, the hospitality industry is urging government to only implement lockdowns as a measure of last resort. They say the industry has largely borne the brunt of changing lockdown regulations. For more on this, I'm now joined by Rosemary Anderson, FEDHASA's national chairperson. Rosemary, very good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. Before we look at what you've been stating of late in terms of the lockdowns, just take us through the last year or so. I mean, you've really borne the brunt of these lockdowns. And also, are you ready now for this festive season? You think a lot of the hotels, the restaurants and so forth who've lost a lot of staff, are they ready to take in tourists?
Good evening, Tony. Yes, you're perfectly right. This last year and about 20 months, in fact, have been a tremendous burden on the hospitality and tourism sector. Not only were we shut down for a number of months, but the restrictions within which we traded were really prohibitive in the sense that a lot of the time we were not financially viable. When you take alcohol out of the spread, it makes a lot of hospitality businesses financially unviable. And even like when you go to, for example, going on holiday, if you know that you're going to spend quite a lot of money at a lovely hotel, but at the same time you won't be able to enjoy your lovely glass of wine or your favorite beer when you have a meal, whatever the case is, you would decide rather, I'm not going to go on holiday now, I'd rather go at another time. So the restrictions within which we operated, not only the alcohol bans, but also the restrictions on numbers of people in our venues, the times, there were just so many restrictions which literally made trading financially unviable. So many businesses have really struggled to hold on. And as we all know, there've been a loss of thousands and thousands of jobs in our sector. As the sector is often looked at as a luxury sector, if you look at some of the numbers, 2019, more than 10 million people visiting South Africa, contributing cumulatively paid 27 billion rand. Basically, 27 billion rand poured into the economy. You look at restaurants, coffee shops and so forth, contributing 4.7 billion rand to the economy. Do you think your industry is unfairly looked at? I think our industry is not looked at well enough to see how we could be the key to actually unblocking or to helping with the huge unemployment problem in South Africa. The wonderful thing about hospitality and tourism is that most people could actually be very good in it regardless of what your education is or your background. So we've got so many opportunities to create literally millions of jobs if we could just increase the number of international tourists coming into South Africa. And we can do that because our basics in South Africa are comparable to anything great in the world. So I think we've really had a bad time this last year. You're right, we've definitely borne the brunt of it. But at the same time, I think government really needs to see that we could be literally the key to actually creating millions of jobs. All we've got to do is market South Africa like we've never marketed South Africa before, which we can do, and which is a business sector in hospitality and tourism. We're very, very keen to actually pair with government. We've got great ideas of how we can actually create a tourism mecca in South Africa like we've never done before and create millions of jobs and just change our economy.
You're asking government to, look at other options and not immediately go to lockdown restrictions. What other options are there?
I think vaccination is the only route out. We've actually seen that with all of our counterparts in the UK and other European countries. I know that they're going through a fourth wave at the moment, but they have been able to cope with regards to hospitalization and deaths. So it really, there doesn't seem to be another way out. Vaccination seems to be the way out. It's just not sustainable to keep on closing hospitality and tourism down in South Africa. And the difference between South Africa and the other European countries and other countries around the world is that they were able to provide some form of financial assistance to all in hospitality and tourism. And we know the situation we're in, that we were not able to do that in our country. So you cannot keep on closing hospitality and tourism down without giving the financial commensurate compensation. So government just literally can't do it. And I'm really scared that if they do this now, the damage to human livelihoods, there have been so many suicides of people in hospitality just not being able to cope anymore. The damage to cause in our industry will be worse than actually the COVID pandemic.
Lastly, Rosemary, would you be willing to or recommend to your members that maybe, make use of the vaccine certificate?
Yes, I think what's going to happen is internationally you can see this is a move. We've just seen what's happened in Austria this past week and other European countries. I think that South Africa is going to be swept up in the move where vaccine passports are going to become the norm.
Okay, we'll see what happens. All right, thank you so much, FEDHASA's national chairperson there, Rosemary Anderson, hoping government does not, or asking government not to use the lockdown, or lockdown must be